plants go around farther up on Lake Michigan. And so I guess, you know, this is not although I feel the nature area here is always beautiful, it is not maybe the most picturesque at this time of year because a lot of the spring ephemerals haven't come out yet. And I think that my guess is it just looks like a weedy mess to most people. But it's not a weedy mess. A lot of this is very carefully planned. And so you see these grasses here, these clumps of grasses. This is marram grass, and this is an extremely important species in the dune ecosystem. So what happens is you have this wide open sandy area, and not very many plants or animals are adapted to living in that kind of harsh environment. So it's very dry, the sand moves around, it gets lots of heat in the summertime, it's very sunny. And so, but there are some plants that are well adapted to living in that harsh environment. And the marram grass, this one here, is one of them. And it's a very important transformative species in a dune habitat. So what happens is it has deep roots and also lateral roots. So it helps to anchor the sand, and it's a perennial plant. So that means it stays around for a long time, many years. And as the marram grass fills in, you can see it filled in more in here, it creates an environment that other plants are able to live in. So as the marram grass from the year before dies back, it puts nutrients into the ground, it makes the soil better for other kinds of animals and plants to live in, and it holds the sand down so that it doesn't move around as much. And so once you have marram grass colonizing a beach or sandy area, then there are later successional plants that are able to live in that habitat. And so in this particular place, in Rainbow Beach Dunes, we've sort of helped the process along a little bit by planting marram grass. So, and also planting other kinds of dune and prairie plants that like to live here. And so if you come out next month, we're going to be planting actually right along this empty swath here in the front and planting native forbs. So pretty flowering plants that will be beautiful and flowering this summer. So what we have now are plants that have made it through the winter. So we'll see lots of the remainders of plants that flowered and made seeds last year. We'll see some new plants, plants that just sprouted from seeds that were dispersed last year, or perennial plants that are just starting to grow up their leaves again. There aren't going to be a lot of showy flowers right now. And I have to admit that my identification skills of dead plants are not the best, but we'll do as well as we can. Yes?
Yeah, I was going to ask you, once the marram grass and the other species that's growing out there comes out of dormancy, they don't actually bloom any kind of flowers?
Actually, they absolutely do. So as we're walking around, I'll show you the some marram grasses where you can see the seed pods from last year. So if we're looking at right here in front of us, the tallest ones, that's not marram grass, but that's a wild rye. And so the tassel stuff on top, that's the seeds from last year. And so grasses are not very showy flowers. So most grasses are dispersed, they're dispersed through the wind. So they don't need flies or bees or hummingbirds to carry pollen from one plant to another. So they don't need to have showy flowers to attract pollinators. So they're often not showy at all. but they're actually, I think grass flowers are some of the most beautiful flowers. They're just very understated. And so I would say late summer is probably the best time to look for grasses blooming. And they'll just be really beautiful. And the rushes, we'll walk by the rushes, which also look just really beautiful and very complicated structures of flowers that, usually happen in the late summertime. Any other questions for right now?
I have one. We have a burr that we get. It's a tiny little spiky, really painful burr.
Yeah.
And it started to take over this pathway into here, and it goes all the way up to the end of the beach and then down to Rocky Ledge. And I'm wondering, is it invasive? Is it something that we can work on pulling up? It's very painful.
So it looks like you see it right now. Well, we'll look for it. You should show me when you see it. Oh, here we go. This is the marram grass seeds.
Murphy doesn't know this.
What's the little sticky stuff
The
that
ones
gets in
that,
the dog's paw?
when you're walking your dog along
Yeah,
there?
she was just talking about some
Is
little
that the
burr.
one?
Yeah,
But
it's
it
really
has-
small.
It's like
And it has-
Velcro.
Right, and it has these stickers that the dogs, get all in their paws.
And it's
it's
almost
so
like there's a poison
painful.
at the end because it hurts more than a regular burr. Like it stings after you pull it out.
And it's like a little fuzz ball. Is
It's like
that
a
the one?
flat. Yeah, it's tiny. It's about the
Yeah,
size
it's
of a
very
pea.
tiny, but it's little
Hey, can you see this?
Yeah,
spikes all over
and it comes
it.
out of this reddish grass that has
My
like
dogs,
kind of
I
a-
stopped walking them over here because then
Right.
it would be in their paws and they would stop and
Yep.
they were little. We'd have to pick them up, get it all. Oh, it's terrible.
Huh. Well, there's a reddish grass that's a little blue stem. But I don't think that has
no.
spiky things
This
like
is
that.
this is different, and it's almost like
It's like a flat disc.
an
that's-
almond shape. If you look straight down on it, the leaves come up. They're not. It's
Take a picture? Yeah, sure. There you go.
On the organ, I'm glad you told me that. I'm just. I have to pay attention.
yeah, and it really spreads fast. Like it seems like this time of year you can just barely spot it, and then by June it's everywhere, and then they drop off, so they're blowing,
Yeah, right.
and you really can't avoid it.
Okay.
Step on
Well, if
Yeah.
you see any dead ones from last year,
I know I can find it down on
Yeah, well,
Rocky
we're-
Ledge. And
Okay,
I might be
okay.
able to see it here.
okay.
I'll look.
Probably go home and get one of our blankets.
that you haven't been able to remove them from. Yeah,
Oh yeah, it's like that.
Yeah.
Dogs that get covered and then they go roll around to try to get them off.
They're so
And they get
beautiful,
just
too.
You'll find it like a year
Everywhere.
later in something.
Yeah.
or-
No, this is great. This is exactly the stuff that I want to know. And
Cool.
yeah.
And we can put. I was thinking of putting those signs up if we can pull it out to have people help. Like, this is your enemy. Pull it up.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it might not be our enemy. I mean, it might be.
That's what I wanted.
Yeah.
So,
So,
some things are.
yes, some things are definitely our enemy. And there will absolutely be days where we pull weeds.
Yeah.
Like